Organization is about having a home for everything and having everything in that home. And so embracing who you are, first of all, knowing your organizing style and how you naturally manage your stuff, then embracing that, and then designing your house to catch your clutter like you put it down naturally.
Hey y'all, I want to welcome all of our new and returning listeners. Our spring coaching groups start April 11th, and if you're listening to this on the day it came out, today on March 26th, we have a registration event today at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Come find out why ADHD reWired's coaching and accountability groups is a truly unique group coaching experience. If you're new to us and you are looking for support with your ADHD, we've been at this since 2014 and have had nearly 1,200 people go through our program. If you're looking for a strong and thriving community so you can make real, lasting connections and build the skills and strategies to live a better life with ADHD, come join us. We do have payment plans available, including PayPal's 6-month, 0% interest financing for qualified candidates, or 3 months payment plans directly with us. If you want to work with us, we want to work with you, so don't wait. Go to coachingrewired.com and join us for our next registration events. And if you missed our March 26th event, go to coachingrewired.com and schedule a time to meet with me or someone from my team. Go now. That's coachingrewired.com. Oh, and we are about to launch our new website. So just in case something weird happens when our new site goes live, contact us at support@ADHDrewired.com as we are here for you. All right, y'all are in for a treat with today's guest, Cas Aarssen, also known as the Clutterbug. Enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. I'm very excited for today's guest. We have Cas Aarssen, and we were just kind of talking about, if you don't know who Cas is, so you might know Clutterbug. That is Cas. And I was just laughing because in my process where I ask people to phonetically spell their name for me, Cas really kindly wrote, Aarssen, starting fires for fun. But she's a lot more to Cas than that. So I met Cas at the 2023 International Conference on ADHD. She's one of the keynote speakers. And I had previously been familiar with your content. I had listened to the audiobook, the Clutterbug audiobook, and really liked the content in there. And then when I saw you present your keynote and really share your story, the only thing I can really say is I need to figure out how do I become this person's friend, because I just loved your story and your energy and just everything that you had to share. So let me give you a little bit of a more formal introduction now that I've been doting on you here. All right. So she is the creator of Clutterbug, a home organizing business which provides education, inspiration, and support to over 500,000 families worldwide through her YouTube channel, podcast, and various other social media platforms. Cas is also the author of 4 best-selling organizing books: Real Life Organizing, Cluttered Mess to Organized Success, The Clutter Connection, and The Declutter Challenge. As a recovering super-slob, it just makes me feel so good knowing that a professional organizer also identifies as a super-slob. Because next to like my pre-ADHD diagnosis of lazy, slob was also, I was lazy with a coexisting slob. That was my diagnosis. So she discovered that through her own journey with clutter, that organization is not one size fit all. She's identified 4 unique organizing styles and developed the Clutterbug method to help individuals discover their type and implement customized solutions that will finally get them organized long term. All right, there's more in here, but I'm going to let you kind of share your story, and we're going to get into the strategies and all that kind of stuff. But I want you to share your story the best that you can.
Well, hi, thank you for having me. You want me to share the story, like the past story that I shared on stage kind of story?
Kinda. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah. I was so scared doing that keynote speech. I had never talked about ADHD publicly before, like my ADHD story. And I had certainly never shared, my past, which I call like my dirty little dark secret skeletons in the closet. So I was so scared. And you guys were so nice. It was very surprising. And I felt so good about it that now I feel like, well, maybe this is a story I can share because it's more relatable, I felt like, than I ever thought it would be. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't think other people maybe had ever had the same experience than I had, but that was not the case. That's not the feedback that I got, that this is something that maybe not the prison thing, but the rest. But yeah, do you want me to just like jump into this?
All
Is
right.
this where we're going?
Yeah, and please don't leave out the prison story, because that's I think I think part of it is when you're on stage, you have so much energy and you have this sort of certain like improvisational polishedness to yourself that I really love and admire. And you've done some really incredible stuff. You had a show on like HGTV, and like, so you've been doing some really incredible stuff, and you've had many challenges.
Yeah, I had a lot of challenges, I think, since birth, but the biggest challenge was I was so hyper. And I know you hear a lot about this with boys, right? Boys are like bouncing, the boys will be boys and you're peeling them off the ceiling. But as a girl, I was that same level of, not as like, I wasn't beating people with sticks kind of thing, but I would not stop talking. And I was always moving and jiggling and jumping around and singing and making everything a musical. And, the feedback I got from adults in my life was this was really annoying, that I was annoying. My parents, teachers, everyone pretty much had the same thought about myself. So I internalized that. Like, I'm certainly not like other kids and I'm really annoying. And I even had a teacher who moved my desk into the hall as a child in grade 6 the entire year. All the other kids would go into the classroom and I would have to sit outside in the hall. So I wasn't being taught anything, no lessons. And then I really learned like, wow, I'm not like other kids. And I think if you struggle with this, I think times have changed. I'm old. Listen, okay, I've been around. So ADHD wasn't a thing when I was a kid. Nobody mentioned it. I think we've learned a lot since then. But when you tell a child all the time that they're obnoxious, that they're bad, that they disrupt other people, that they're so annoying, that they're very different, and they don't want to be like that, and they try and can't change, there comes a certain point where a child, I think, just embraces it. Like, I might as well just be all the things you tell me that I am, because if I'm going to work all day to try not to be like that, work my butt off and still be like that anyways, I might as well just take the easy shortcut and just be who I am and embrace who I am. And so not only was I annoying in school, but I really struggled to memorize things, especially math. I still don't know my multiplication tables to this day. Like, I have no memory, like 51st dates brain level kind of bad, terrible memory. So I thought I was really stupid and annoying and bad. By the time I was kind of like 13, I had gotten into shoplifting for excitement. And I'm like, well, this is what bad kids do. They do bad things. Right. And so I went full in, man. I went full in and started experimenting with like drugs and alcohol. And I had wonderful parents. This wasn't coming from a place of abuse or neglect. It was really just this narrative over and over and over again that I was this anyways, because I wouldn't be quiet or because I wasn't able to sit still and learn like other kids did. Obviously, there was something fundamentally wrong with me. And I also noticed this other crazy thing, which I'm sure a lot of ADHD kids can probably relate to. Being a grown-up seemed real craptacular, you know? Like, I look at my mom and my dad and every other grown up, and all they do is complain about how much work they have to do, and it's boring work. And they go to these jobs that they don't even like, and it's like mind-numbingly horrible crap. Then they come home and they're cleaning and they're cutting the grass and they're doing the laundry and they're making dinner and they're bitching about it the whole time. And then this is what they tell you. If you try hard in school, you too can have this wonderful grown-up life. And I'm like, no thanks. Because what? I was struggling just to do the bare minimum and failing. I certainly didn't want to work my tail off to have this horrible life that seemed like, it seemed awful. It did not seem like something that I was meant for. So at 15 years old, I left home with the full understanding, not because I couldn't stand living with my family anymore, but because I was like, I will find a different way. There has to be a different life out there, something filled with more excitement, more dopamine, more pleasure, really. Like, why is everything so hard? I'm going to find an easier way. Unfortunately, though, like what I learned was being a 15-year-old homeless kid was not actually easier. It was more fun. It was more fun. But also I was cold and hungry and starving and dirty. And yeah, I was too stubborn to go back home. And I was really determined to kind of find another way to make this work. Obviously, I dropped out of high school because why go to high school when I'm just going to not do well anyways? But it was difficult to find a job. How could you get a phone call when you don't even have a phone or a place to live, right? So I really resorted to a lot of illegal activity to feed myself. And that illegal activity in my very good problem solving skills ability that I had learned got more elaborate and more elaborate until one day I was doing some pretty stupid, ridiculous crap and I got arrested. And I had been arrested in the past as a teen. That's when they slap you on your little hand and they maybe put you in like a little juvie camp, which is just like summer camp with jumpsuits. It's fun. It's not fun. It's not terrible. You know what I'm saying? It's summer camp. Real prison. I was 18 at the time when I got arrested. I was technically a grown up, even though the things I had done, it was from 17. I still got tried as an adult and sentenced to real big girl jail. And it was horrible. It was a level of horrible that I cannot describe to you. It was real consequences for my actions. The people in there did not like me, and they were there for a reason. They were real bad. I was not bad. I was a little princess cosplaying as a criminal. That's what I was because I had undiagnosed ADHD. I did not belong there. I got my butt kicked on a regular basis. Food stolen. I had lost so much weight. I was afraid to go to sleep at night. I was afraid to wake up in the morning. I was afraid every single day that I was in there. And when I finally got out, I decided I would never, ever, 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 ever break the law again. And that meant I had to get a job as a high school dropout doing minimum wage, fast food service kind of jobs and work multiple jobs just to be able to pay the bills. And then suddenly I realized I am my parents. I get up every day. I go to work at some crap job to come home, to make dinner, to do my laundry, to just fall into bed and wake up and do it all over again. And I resigned to the fact that, like, I guess this is life.
So how you were in your early 20s then?
Yeah. I was just turning 20. So I was sentenced to a year in jail, but I got out after 9 months. 9 months is a freaking long time.
I can't even imagine being in prison for 9 months.
It was a long time. So, yeah, I got out. I got a bunch of jobs, part-time jobs, then full-time job, and I still needed to work a second job, just still scraping by. And then you're into this point where you just work to live and you hope someday you just get nicer stuff. Like you're working for like a tiny bit of improvement in your stuff, maybe a nicer apartment, or maybe you can save up for a new sofa or right. And like this, I could have lived this life forever till the day I died. And I was not happy, but looking around, no one else was happy either. Like, I guess this is just what we do as human beings. We're on this rat race. We're living in this hamster wheel. But it was a lot easier than trying to go against the system because going against the system is almost impossible and you end up in prison.
So how did you,
or a drug addict or all the other horrible
well,
things.
and we do know that there's, lots of the prison population is undiagnosed ADHD. So what led you to your ADHD diagnosis and what led you to the world of organizing?
Yeah, I just actually recently got diagnosed with ADHD, but what led me to organization was this real drive inside of me my entire life, which is there's got to be an easier way. Whenever something is really hard, I'm always looking for a shortcut. Like, nah, I don't want to work hard, man. Shortcut, shortcut. So eventually found a career that I did love. And then I got married and I had children and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom so badly. My house was a wreck. I was never organized. But then when I became a stay-at-home mom and I was running a daycare because we really needed the money, I had 9 children in my house. And my job is to take care of the house and these 9 children. And it looked like an episode of Hoarders, but in a Toys R Us or something. Like I could not I feel like kids amplifies your disorganization. And I could not get a handle on it. No matter how hard I tried, my house was always a mess and I couldn't find anything. And I struggled to just keep up on dishes. And I'm looking around at other people and I'm like, I don't feel like you're that much smarter than me. And yet you have your dishes done. And I somehow, what is happening here? Why can't I find my keys? So I tried again. I I started watching Peter Walsh's Clean Sweep on TLC, and then I bought all his books and I learned about decluttering, which was something that was a foreign concept for me. You actually get rid of things on purpose. Like it's not like people steal it from you. You purposely give your crap away. I had never, this concept was like, what? Why would you do that? But I started doing that and I was like, wow, wait, it's easier to find stuff and it's easier to put things away. And then I started trying to get organized, realizing I don't organize like a normal person's supposed to organize because that's ridiculously a lot of effort. I'm like, instead of putting my bills into folders, one for electricity, one for gas, one for my visa, no, I throw everything into paid bills 2024 and I sort it at tax time. Like I have big categories instead of lots of tiny categories. And that works for how my brain works because my brain thinks big picture. I don't think in details. I think big categories, big picture. So my house needs to reflect that. And when I started organizing like that, things started staying tidy and I could find things again. And I gave myself permission to be less organized. I still don't fold to this day. And yet I'm one of the top 5 organizing experts in the world.
I love that. I love that. You don't fold shit and you're one of the top.
I don't fold nothing. I don't fold nothing.
That's awesome.
I don't file nothing. There's nothing in alphabetical order up in here. But you don't have to be because organization is about having a home for everything and having everything in that home. And so embracing who you are, first of all, knowing your organizing style and how you naturally manage your stuff, then embracing that, and then designing your house to catch your clutter like you put it down naturally. That was really the secret. So I started doing that. My house got organized. I thought I was a genius. I thought there was 2 ways to organize. I started helping friends and family. and eventually getting clients. And it really grew into like, wait, there's not two, there's kind of four. Now I can diagnose people's style within seconds of meeting them and help them set up systems that stay tidy based on how they naturally manage their stuff. And that grew into this incredible career. But I still struggled more, I felt, than the average person to remember things like appointments. Where are my keys? I have like on everything, I have tiles. So I lose things and I have like tiles that, where's my phone? Where's my keys? I have technology on top of technology on top of technology just to help me like do the basic lifing stuff. And I went to my family doctor at the age of 40. I had a television show. I had 4 best-selling books. I had this incredible career as an organizing expert. And I was like, dude, I am 20 minutes late for this appointment. And honestly, it's a miracle I'm here at all because I had 6 alarms remind me and I couldn't find my keys and I'm wearing 2 different shoes. Please, Lord, help me. There's something wrong with me. And he was like, I think you have ADHD. And that changed my freaking life because nothing changed in my life. Nothing changed except my own perception of myself. I was no longer like this person who wasn't trying hard enough, that wasn't as smart as everyone else, that didn't work as hard as everyone else. I was no longer lazy or stupid or bad or irresponsible. I had a real medical condition that I was born with. And that was like, oh, right? And then I started looking at my life like, despite ADHD, I did all this cool stuff. And then I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm doing all this cool stuff because I have ADHD. Maybe this isn't this horrible negative thing about myself. Maybe this is the greatest thing about myself. And man, now I'm so passionate to help other people, especially children, see the incredible superpower benefit. And I know people are like, ew, it's not a superpower. Listen, friend, there is still crappy crap about having ADHD, but there's some awesome, incredible, amazing parts of having ADHD too. And I think we need to celebrate those.
I think right now would be a great time to celebrate that by taking a quick break. And when we come back, let's discuss some solutions for all of us who have tried and tried and tried to get themselves organized and maintain that organization and still haven't figured out the right solution. So we will be right back. Support for this podcast comes from our coaching community and our intensive award-winning coaching and accountability groups. We meet 3 times per week for 10 weeks with daily accountability. Learn more and get on our spring interest list at coachingrewired.com. Our spring season is coming up fast, so don't wait to get started. Learn more at coachingrewired.com. As of this recording, we just finished our 35th season of coaching groups. And I want to welcome all of our winter season graduates to our amazing, growing alumni community. Because here at ADHD Rewired, we know that the new and novel is really exciting. And we also know that maintenance is next level. And we don't have to do any of that alone. While we do provide tools for learning how to better manage our calendars, build ADHD-friendly routines, and create actionable to-do lists to achieve our goals, we also believe that ADHD management is about more than just the tools. For example, with our plans and to-dos, it's not just even about writing them down. It's about creating awareness around them and where our time is really being spent and how our environment can affect every step. Once we gain time wisdom, that's when it becomes easier to manage our energy, budget our time, and set better boundaries so that we can engage in the things that truly matter to us. And it's also about having a supportive community behind us to cheer us on and point out our strengths that we have, especially when we are feeling stuck.
The simplicity of things such as breaking down tasks specificity, how, what, why, actions must have destinations, etc., that as hard as things are, there are accessible tools and solutions to help me take baby steps to make life a traffic-free journey.
I decided to join the group because I was struggling with getting started on anything. I felt like I had no momentum and no get up and go, and I just did not understand how to navigate everyday life like everyone else. When I realized that I'm not going to ever be like those without a disability, but that doesn't mean that I cannot still make progress, it's an absolute game changer for me. And from that, I learned that not getting started was due to not having a clear roadmap. Planning my year, then my quarter, then my day fixed so many of the problems. Like I don't dread Mondays, I don't dread the start of the day. I just have a map and know that this is what I'm going to do next, and I'm excited to get it started.
If you're thinking about joining this group, oh my God, do it now. Seriously. It is hard to put into words how incredible this experience truly was. You will be part of a community of people who are just like you. No, really, just like you. You'll become aware of those things in your life that you couldn't have avoided, and within these 10 weeks, you will be given tools and shown how to use them to function in ways you only dreamt about.
So are you wondering if group coaching is right for you? Do you have questions? Why not go now to coachingrewired.com to get your name added to a spring interest list? Want to join? Attend our next registration event, schedule a one-on-one with me or someone from my team, or reach out via email at support@ADHDrewired.com. Group starts April 11th, so time is running out. If this sounds like the group you've been looking for, go to coachingrewired.com to get your name added to our spring interest list. Don't wait, because group starts soon and because growth happens here. That's coachingrewired.com. We can't wait to meet you. All right, we are back. So you discovered you had ADHD around 40 years old. I want to go back for one. I did have a question. I don't know if I ever asked you this. So you'd served time in prison. I don't think you completed a higher education. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
How did you get a TV show?
That's a really good question. And when I tell you you're going to die, okay? Because they just called me one day. Yeah, so I started making YouTube videos, and I, at this point, also like how people are like, how'd you get a book deal? Yeah, the publisher just called, like messaged me, just emailed me one day. And I think that's the incredible part of putting yourself out there on the internet. When you put yourself out there, you're easy to find. That's the whole thing. So I think HGTV was looking for an organizing show. They looked on the internet, they saw me, they were like, she sounds cool. Let's go with her. And they just reached out and contacted me. So there is nothing that I've ever gotten in my life that I've like actively worked for. Does that make sense? I did and I didn't. It wasn't like I had a plan. There's no plan. Okay. There's just, I do the things that I find really cool and fun, and incredible opportunities come out of that. And I think we hear this a lot. Do what you love and the money will follow. But I feel like I'm actual living proof of that. Every day, I just do the things I'm super passionate about with no other expectation other than this is fun and I want to share about it. And it's led to amazing things.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's get into some of these strategies and your different types of organizing. So do you want to kind of lay out the 4 types that you've described in your work?
Yeah, it's really simple, but I have to start by saying 2 things. One, you can't put everybody into just 4 categories. So you may be a combination of these styles, or you may be like one of these things more in one area, like your office, and less like more like a different kind of style in your kitchen or bedroom. So I want to start by saying that. But the other thing is there is a big difference between fantasy you and real life you. Okay.
My fantasy self is so organized.
Right. You're like, when you're thinking about this, you can't think of how in an ideal world you'd want it to be. That's not you. It's how how are you actually managing your stuff on a daily basis right now today? Not like what I want, how I want to manage it, but how do you actually manage your crap? So it comes down to how you store and how you sort. And how you store means, are you visual? Is it out of sight, out of mind? Do you prefer to see your everyday things? Or are you more of a hidden person? Do you like to tuck things out of sight? Because seeing it really causes a lot of anxiety. And this is a scale for sure. Like you can be somewhere in the middle. It's a scale. But most people are either, they kind of identify like, yeah, I'm definitely more of a visual, out of sight, out of mind person, or no, I like to hide things and have most of my things out of the way. And I mean, take a look at your bathroom counter. That's a really good indication. Is every product you've ever owned out on your bathroom counter? Like when you're done brushing your teeth, are you tucking all these things out of sight, or do you prefer to have them visual? And again, it's a scale, but if it's pretty out there on the counter and visual, you're probably a visual person. And if you're naturally tucking and hiding things away, you're probably a hidden. And then the other side of this equation,
let me ask you this.
Yes.
What if someone, I'm talking about myself here, is a visual person, but feels so much better in a space that doesn't have shit everywhere, right? But if it's hidden, if it's in a drawer, it no longer exists for the most part.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing. I'm not saying visual people are like, yay, clutter. Like, nah, friend, listen, when everything's visual, nothing's visual. It just looks like mess and clutter. So when you're a visual person, it can only be the important things that you use every day that have to be placed in a way that is visual for you so you don't forget about it, but that isn't spread all over every surface. That's not organization, right? And so when everything's visual, nothing is visual. You might as well be hiding it. And nobody likes looking at clutter. That's not what being visual means. It means, yeah, it's like if you put it away, you're going to forget you own it. So what's happening is your brain knows this. So subconsciously, you're leaving things out. Because if you put it in the drawer, you're going to forget. You're afraid you're going to forget. This is subconscious. So you might as well create a beautiful, functional home for it that's out. Not a pile. That is not a home, an actual visual home. And I can talk about like different ideas of what that looks like in a second. But the other half of your organizing style is how you naturally sort things. And everybody can be detailed, but what I'm talking about is on a daily basis. Are you a detailed person? Does your brain think in small categories? Do you stop and think about how to put things away? If you use this pen and it goes in the shelf inside a bin that's labeled pens, are you going to take the time to open the lid and put the pen and put it back? Like, are you going to take the time to sort while you put things away? Or are you going to completely forget that you're even done with this pen and you're just going to toss it?
Likely the second one.
Right. So that's a laid back organizer, a non-detailed organizer. We can set up detailed systems for things we don't use very often because that's okay. But on a daily basis, a non-detailed or a laid back organizer can't use a detailed system because if something's hard to put it away, we just won't because we're not thinking about how to put something down. Our brain's already moved on. Whereas a detailed person, they get really stressed when things are kind of chaotic and mixed and jumbled. So they are thinking, they're stopping and thinking about how to put things away because it's more important that they find things quickly. Whereas it's more important that a non-detailed organizer put things away quickly. So that's
let me ask you this question. So
yes, don't say I want to do both.
It's a question about my Tupperware drawer.
Okay.
So I like the idea of like nesting or the containers and the lids separately drives me crazy. And I every other week I have a cleaning person that comes to my house, And I had to leave like a note in that cook because I had to talk to her about this before. And then she went back and nested everything again. And it drives me nuts if I can't find the right lid. The level of irritability that like takes over me around this thing. So I like I pull everything out. I put the lids on everything so I can stack them because I want to go in there and have the pieces together. I don't want to go in there and have to look for stuff. What does that tell you about that style?
So that tells me that you're actually a detailed person.
Oh,
So here's the thing. You are a detailed person. So you kind of know like detailed people generally are pretty good with like planning in detail. So they could use a planner. They like to like take time to do things right. But where the problem comes in is if they don't have time to do things perfectly or right now, they're just going to shove it till later. They're going to just pile it. It's procrastination central, man. Everything's paralysis because they want to do it so perfectly. So this is how it can get really confusing when you're thinking about your style. There can be like your fantasy can get interrupted, or you could say, well, I feel like a detailed person, but my house is a chaotic disaster. So obviously I'm not. That's not true. You are a detailed person, but you haven't taken the time to set up a detailed system. So you're just piling it till later. That's very different than me, who even if I had a detailed system, I'd still chuck that crap in a drawer. Because I do not care. My brain doesn't work in details. So knowing yourself, really knowing yourself, and a great thing to look at to kind of identify your style. I have a quiz, but the best way is to look at a space that works for you. And your Tupperware drawer is a great example. If every time you're unloading the dishwasher, you are taking a bottom and you're pairing it with a top and you're stacking it neatly, stop it, friend. You are a detailed person because ain't nobody who's non-detailed's got time for that.
You're making me reevaluate my whole life right now. It's but when it comes to paperwork, like papers, I am like clueless. Like I have like 3 different bins on I have like a split level house. So like between the kitchen and like the family room, there's like 2 counters, right? And I have 3 bins of different, totally random paperwork that of like a lot of it's like financial stuff and manuals and receipts and spare parts of stuff that I've.
So this is so interesting. Do you have a place for manuals?
No. Well, yes, that I don't use often because I have learned that manuals for everything are online. So I don't actually need to keep them. But what if it's not?
But then you have manuals shelved. So what I'm going to say is you probably don't have home set up for all this paper. That's why it's random. Like if you had a really obvious place, you're like, oh, here's the manual. It goes into the manual spot and it goes here and it goes here. And you didn't have to walk a bunch of flight of stairs to do that. Like you had a system right there that was already set up. I feel like you would use it. I feel like what's happening is you're like, oh, it's paper. I don't even know what to do with this. Where does this even go? I guess I'm going to deal with it later and shove it there. That does not make you not detailed. It makes you a perfectionist.
I have identified as a perfectionist in recovery for a long time. I guess I'm still working on that. So I have had in the past like file systems for stuff. I would open my file cabinet and I would literally just throw the paper on top of all the file folders and then close the drawers and just hope that I can get it closed.
Well, that's a very non-detailed. So I don't know. Listen, you're putting pressure on me here, man. See, the thing is, it could be when it comes to paper, for whatever reason, you do have kind of like a mental block with paper. So then you need a laid back, less organized approach to paper. But the other areas, like if you want to have a panic attack because your Tupperware lids aren't stored on top of your things, then I feel like in that area, you're a super detailed person. I don't know what kind of weird thing happened in your childhood, but we all have weird things, right?
We need hours for another podcast for that.
We have there is some learned, there's some environmental, like my mom did things a certain way that kind of so I do things in that certain way because if I was, you know what I'm saying? We all have these little things that make us unique. But I think on the bigger picture, you could probably say, what works for you most of the time, or what is working for you. Is it a detailed system? Is it a laid back system? Is it visual or is it hidden? And then in the spaces where you're really struggling, replicate that system, like use that system. So a really good example is for paper, for visual people, filing cabinets and things like that don't really work for our day-to-day papers because it's hidden. You can't see it, which again could be why you're laying it on top, because a folder's like death for a paper, even if it's a labeled folder, because it's like, well, it's in there with all those other things and I can't really see it and I have to stop and we sort of panic, like I better leave it out in a pile to remind me of this paper. But we can do something really visual with that, and we can get magazine racks up on the walls, which really actually works, of like bills to be paid, paper that needs to be filed, but we can see the paper. So it's a visual cue, but it's not on our desk. It's not on our kitchen counter. It's not a pile that can very quickly become invisible because it's mixed with other piles. It has a home. It has a visual home. It has a boundary. It has a container that's containing it, and it can't go bigger than that because it's going to overflow all over the place.
That is something that has helped me is putting things in containers, big bowls, like just so it does have that boundary for it. Like I love bins and containers, but no lids, because that adds an extra step.
Yeah, so maybe you are like a laid back organizer, but for some reason you're Tupperware. I don't know, man. That one's throwing me for a loop. Until I can come to your house to really see, I don't know. But honestly, who the frick cares? I don't care if you're a ladybug or a cricket or a butterfly. So I gave them all these little names. It doesn't matter. What matters is you know yourself and what works and what doesn't and why, so that you can set up a system that complements your brain. However weird way your brain manages stuff, it doesn't matter. And I think the 4 categories, like a lot of people do fall into one of those categories, which is why it's helpful, but a lot of people also don't. And I want to say, like, I know this is my life's work and I should say it matters, but it doesn't. The only thing that matters is the self-awareness to realize, like, it doesn't have to be one way. It certainly shouldn't look like anyone else's. It shouldn't, because we all have different stuff and we all are different people. So of course our organization, we can't copy paste what we see on the home edit, right? That's not realistic. What's realistic is how you and your home and your family manage your stuff. And we have to create homes that reflect the way we naturally put things down.
When it comes to decluttering, I think I shared with you when we spoke a while ago that I had hired a professional organizer, and they had like this minimum requirement of 4 hours per session. And like after 2 hours, I was done, like so done. And I had it during, I think it was the last session that I had with them, or it was one of the sessions I had with them. I had this like fawn response. So we had these piles of different things, like I was going to be donating, things I'm going to be keeping. And then I saw them walking out with one of the piles of stuff that was for the keep pile. And my like decision fatigue was so overboard that like I've seen them carrying this pile out. I knew like that's not a donate pile. And I didn't even say anything. And then like for like a week, so I was like, what came over me that like made me freeze so much in that moment? It was kind of traumatic. Like it was too much.
Yeah. And the problem is when things leave that you haven't wanted to go, that like reinforces this natural feeling that we have of like that letting go is wrong, right? It's because now you have this added layer of like something's taken from me that was mine against my will. And so we kind of get very closed to the idea of letting go of anything at all. And so that is super traumatic. Everybody struggles with decluttering in the beginning. And I feel like I need to say this because I think a lot of people who haven't decluttered a lot in the past think it's hard for me, so therefore there's something wrong with me or I'm bad at it. It's hard for everybody, and everybody's bad at it in the beginning. It's a muscle that we have to strengthen, because the truth is we're human beings. We are gatherers and hunters. We're meant to collect things. That's human nature. We're supposed to gather things to live and to survive. Unfortunately, there is Amazon delivery that comes the next day, and there's a Target on every corner. And so what's happening is we are gathering way more than our brains can manage. Now we have so much dollar store and crap from Walmart on every surface. We can't even remember where anything, we have too many, you talk about decision fatigue. Every day you're like, where is this thing? Where did I put it? Everything you own is something you have to remember that you own, remember where it is, remember what it's for, and clean it. Everything. And it becomes a real burden on our brain. And if we have ADHD, we are already taxed, man. We're already squirrel syndrome up in here. And we're adding now 10,000 little pieces of bibbity-bobbity crap everywhere. Our brain is fried, man. It's absolutely fried. What we need to do is understand that decluttering is just like cleaning a toilet. It's like vacuuming. It's like dusting. It is part of our weekly cleaning routine. It is not a punishment. It is not something that we do when we're spring cleaning. Decluttering is regular housework.
And decluttering is different from cleaning.
Yes.
I remember learning that and my brain like exploded. I was like, wait a minute, what?
It's also different than tidying. Tidying and cleaning is not the same thing. And tidying and decluttering is not the same thing. Decluttering is removing things from your home forever. Tidying is putting things back into their home. Organizing is creating homes. And cleaning is removing dirt from surfaces.
Oh.
So
I need to digest that for a moment. So let's take a quick break while my brain kind of explodes right now, because that was wonderful. And we will be right back. And I want to share with you a recent unexpected thing that has happened in my life that may be contributing to regular, not decluttering. What did you say it was? Sorting?
Organizing? Tidying?
Tidying. To regular tidying. So we will be right back. All right, we are back. So right before the break, you made my brain explode with these different categories of things I probably already forgot. Cleaning, tidying, decluttering.
And organizing.
Organizing. Okay, so the tidying. It's just cleaning and tidying. So I sort of semi-impulsively adopted 2 kittens about 2 weeks ago. And because they're kittens, they want to get on everything and knock stuff over. And like the thing I want least is to have to clean extra messes up. So it's been forcing me to like keep my surfaces clear. And I'm like, did I just stumble on something like accidentally? That's going to be like, because I feel because it's like for another living being, it's now motivating me to do it.
I like that. So you're tidying more
than
you were before.
And cleaning, because I'm vacuuming almost every day now because all the damn litter gets everywhere. And
that's amazing. Okay, so this is what I found too. Like I started with decluttering, which was just getting stuff out of my house. And then I did like this daily tidy up. So I made it a non-negotiable because I don't know if you're like me and if I tell myself I can do something tomorrow, I will do it tomorrow, but tomorrow will never come and every day will be tomorrow. So like I cannot go to bed until I've tidied for 15 minutes. And at first it was awful. And then what started happening was it became like I didn't even realize I was really doing it. Are you finding that? You're like, wow, I'm tidying without realizing I'm tidying?
And a little bit, because I'm really trying to I know it sounds funny, but I'm trying to train these kittens, right? And so it's like I want to provide the opportunities for good behavior and just lower the opportunities for stuff that's going to just irritate me, right? And so it's like kittens don't respond to the negative stuff, the punishment or anything like that. So it's like, how do I direct their behavior towards more positive things, which is forcing me on a regular basis to do all of it. And I don't know, and it doesn't feel as, I definitely realize I've been doing a lot of like cleaning and tidying lately because of it, but I don't mind it as much. I don't know. It's weird. I'm still kind of trying to figure this out.
I love that. I think a lot of us have like this mental block when it comes to taking care of our house. I know for myself where mine came from. And that was because my mom was insane in the membrane. And I thought like boring, neurotic people cleaned, and I did not want to be my mother. And so anytime I had to clean, it was kind of like, I really did. It was like, oh, I'm becoming my mother. And I hated it before I even started. Does that make sense? Like, or I told myself I suck at this and I'm so bad and I've never been, and I'm a slob and I'm lazy and I always have been and I always will be. So I'm climbing a mountain before I even pick up a vacuum cleaner. Like I'm mentally exhausted from the shit talk I'm talking to myself about cleaning before I even clean. But when I just shut up and do it, I was like, oh, it's actually not that bad. In fact, I'm happier. Wait a minute, do I like this? Is this like enjoyable? Yeah, there's a mindset shift there. Abso-freaking-lutely. But even with all the mindset shifts in the world and all the practice in the world, if you have too much stuff, if you haven't and do not remove things from your home on a regular basis, it's always going to be harder than it needs to be to maintain an organized, tidy home. Always. That's step one.
How do you start with the, I have stuff in probably almost every room in my house that I could be getting rid of. How do you start?
I already can tell just talking to you that it is real anxiety for you. The idea of getting rid of things forever for some reason causes you a lot of anxiety. And there's a lot of reasons. I call this like, let's talk about scarcity mindset for like just a second, but it doesn't matter what the reason is why it's hard for you. Everybody starts in the same place with practice, and we start with trash. So if you opened up the drawer of your desk, if you opened up like your bathroom drawer, if you looked in you have trash. You have empty boxes, you have wrappers, you have old scrap pieces of paper, you have things that are like not anxiety inducing that you can let go of. And if you hunt like it's Easter, right? It's Easter coming up, do this like Easter, but instead of chocolate, man, you're hunting for trash. You're hunting for things that are like obviously broken that can go, like that charger that doesn't even charge your iPhone. But why do you still keep that cable? It doesn't even work.
Okay, I'm feeling really called out right now.
Right? But if you're like, I'm just going to throw this in the garbage because I know it's garbage and I am more important and I'm putting myself first, you start to like get this mojo, like, oh, this is easy. And just repeat that and then dig a little deeper, like, oh, actually, yeah, this brick too, it takes forever to charge. I'm just going to throw the brick out. Ooh, let's be bad. Let's throw in a perfectly good brick. Or, you know what I'm saying? The box that your vacuum cleaner came in, why would you keep the box to something that you're not returning? So all of these things we practice decluttering and it builds our muscle. And we just push ourselves a little bit. And before you know it, you'll be like a baller. You'll be like, I haven't worn this t-shirt in 2 years. It can go, no problem, because I'm more important. And I really look at it as self-love and self-respect, because for some reason, we people please stuff from Walmart. Like we are people pleasing junk in our home because we're scared to offend it or something. Like, why is it so hard for us to say, I know this was $20 and I never use it and I probably never will, but I can't just let it go. Why? It's so crazy pants. It's about standing up for yourself and putting yourself first, and it's saying, I am more important and my happiness is more important, and I am not happy in a super messy space. And I got to stand up and say, The only thing that matters in this entire house is me and my happiness. And I am worth way more than all this crap combined.
It's so interesting because I've always found that it's like not registering how clutter is impacting me until the clutter is removed. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel really this space feels really good. I feel good in this space now, but it's not registering with me when it's cluttered. I don't know, like it's a weird thing.
Okay. Can we talk about that's called clutter blindness, but also I just want to, like, for one hot second, talk about scarcity mindset when it comes to stuff. So if you've ever struggled financially in the past, what happens is we stop trusting money because money can be gone tomorrow. We get paid. Oh my gosh, we better buy before it's gone because it's going to be gone so fast. Does this make sense? Like, the money is not safe because maybe we have to pay taxes or maybe we have to pay the rent and the mortgage and the money's just gone. So I better buy the stuff now that I can. And then something in our brain starts seeing stuff as safety and security, our things as safety and security instead of the money. So then we look around and we don't just see the piles of things, we see safety. We see, like, well, if I ever needed to, at least I have this, I wouldn't have to rebuy it. And oh, I have all those extra planners, and oh, I have all this extra toilet paper, and I have all this extra food, and safety, safety, safety. But then that reinforces again that stuff is safety and money is not, that money is fleeting. So then when we get paid again, our instinct is, well, I better go to Costco and I better stock up and I better buy things when they're on sale and I better get it now before it's gone. I better buy now before it's gone. And before we know it, we're like shopping too much, accumulating too much, and our brain is rewired backwards. So instead of saving and keeping and like putting the priority on money being our security, now stuff is security. So if I come in and stuff is security and stuff is safety and stuff is what's going to keep you and your family safe, and I say, okay, I'm going to take your stuff now and declutter it to Goodwill, it's like I'm coming in and taking your money because your brain is wired backwards. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not saying you have that. I'm saying
because I'm
lot
thinking about
of people, it's a struggle.
I'm thinking specifically right now about my garage. And I can't tell you how many times I've walked into the garage with the intention of, I'm going to spend half an hour, just start decluttering stuff. And I walk in there, I scan the garage, and then go, nah. And
yeah. It's overwhelming too, because you're like, I don't know where to start.
That's
and
right.
if you said you're a recovering perfectionist. So perfectionists really struggle to let go. Do you know why? Because it's the fear of making a mistake. What if I let that go and then I like need it next week?
But I don't think for me anyways, I don't think it's so much that, because I also know that I have the benefit of CRS. You know CRS?
No, what's CRS?
Can't remember shit.
Oh.
So if I'll get rid of it and then I'm not going to think about it again. Like, so I don't think it's that. I think it's more of like, I look at like the shelves of randomly piled crap in my garage, and it's like I'm reading Chinese. I'm like, I know I'm seeing stuff, but my brain is not computing any of it.
Okay, so you need somebody to help, but you've had a bad experience. That's the problem. You've had a bad experience. You need somebody to come in and say, yes, no to this. Like, hey, man, I'm going to hold up this book. Have you read it? Are you going to read it again? Nope.
I do need that.
We're just letting that go. You need somebody to help you do the first step, which is literally just ask you yes, no. Hey, do you want this or not? Done. And if the answer is no, then we're going to put it right in your car immediately and we're going to drop it off at Goodwill. And we don't care where it goes. We're not worried about how everything's being donated. We're not going to sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace. We're not going to start an eBay shop, for the love of God. We are just going to drop it off at Goodwill and move on with our lives because we got better stuff to do.
Did you do a Facebook search for me and see that I've put some stuff on Facebook Marketplace? And have had intentions of putting other stuff from my garage on Facebook Marketplace.
I think we all do that. That's the problem. I have a bad habit of I ride around with it in my trunk for 6 months until I finally get to the Goodwill. But at least it's out of my house, man. I've taken a step in the right direction. And I'm addicted to decluttering now. I really am, because it's so freaking empowering. Like, I've changed my mindset about it, that I don't go in my garage and look at everything and think, oh, where do I start? I think, what's leaving today? What am I bossing around today? What am I the boss of? Like, because I do it from a place of like, I'm more important than you piece of crap. You know, like, I'm putting myself first. I'm such a people pleaser, and I don't have the highest self-esteem, and I let people walk all over me. And so the act of like standing up to my belongings has really empowered me. Like, it's really this amazing thing that I can do to really build confidence. And I think you should try it. You talk some smack to your junk. As you throw it in a trash bag, and you're just like, you know what? You're trash, man. I'm more important than you. Watch this. I'm going to throw you out because I'm more important than you. Honestly, I've cried decluttering, and I've had clients that have cried to decluttering at the thought of, for the first time in our freaking lives, realizing our own importance and putting ourselves first, and like saying it out loud and saying it physically, with like putting stuff in a bag and saying, I'm better than you, and I'm more important than you. And I'm standing up for myself and saying, enough is enough. I'm sick of it. Enough is a freaking enough.
And for listeners who are right there with that, they're like, enough is enough. I'm so fed up of all my stuff. I don't know what to do with it. Where can they go to learn more about you and what your company provides, and what kind of things could people get help with you? Because I know you also do stuff online, and so I'd love for you to share some of those things.
Yeah, I have lots of YouTube channels that you can watch. You can look up Clutterbug, where I help you walk through a space. Also, I'm usually really nice on YouTube, though. Like, if you want tough love, I'm a person who needs tough love. Like, yell at me and tell me to put my stuff in a trash bag, Cass. That's what I'm bringing on my podcast. So again, it's called Clutterbug, and you can search for Clutterbug Tough Love Podcast, and I will scream at you for 45 minutes straight to throw things in the garbage. Oh my God. And if that works for it works for me. Scream at me, man. Scream at me. And so you can listen to those, and I promise you will get up and throw things in the garbage.
So the website is clutterbug.com. Is that like your sort of centralized place for everything?
Yeah, you can go to clutterbug.com. You can take the free quiz, the Clutterbug quiz there, and find out your organizing style. There's a free ebook. There's a free like master organizing class, tons of free resources to help you not only identify your style, start decluttering, but finally get organized for good. And I think more importantly, like, really know yourself and love yourself, and realize that you're not messy. You just organize differently.
Cas Aarssen, thank you so much for joining me on the show. This has been a pleasure. I feel like I can talk to you for hours, and that when you said it
and
earlier,
that concludes this
if you need me to come out
episode.
to your place to help,
Thank you, Cass, for joining me today. And if you made it all the way through to the end of this
I'll
episode,
cook you dinner, and
stick around.
We can declutter.
Hey, if you want show notes or resources, or want to get in touch
Thank
with
you so much
Cass,
for having
find
me.
links and everything else we mentioned on the episode, come to our website at ADHDrewired.com. Speaking of decluttering, if you're looking for a dedicated time and space to start or continue tidying your space, why not check out our ADHD-friendly body doubling community at adultstudyhall.com. We currently have 11 facilitated sessions each week, 2 of which include cleaning and decluttering on Wednesdays and Sundays. And if that doesn't work for you and your schedule, our 24/7 quiet co-working room is always open. Want to support the show? Why not become a patron at ADHDrewired.com/Patreon. And if you sign up at $25 a month, you can join me and other patrons for a monthly coaching call every 4th Tuesday of the month. Which means if you're listening to this early enough on the day it came out, our patron-only coaching call is today. It's also a great place to stop in and get a taste for coaching, especially if you are interested in joining our upcoming coaching groups. Otherwise, you can find it all at the website at ADHDrewired.com. A huge thank you again to Cas for joining me today. We'll catch you all back here next week with another very special guest, Stephen Sharp Nelson, who you might know as the cello player from the band The Piano Guys. And if you've never heard of The Piano Guys, do a YouTube search. You'll thank me later. Until then, happy tidying, and we'll catch you next time.